In this world, people are born into different classes. One of them is the Heavy Knight, a defensive class built to draw enemy aggro and protect allies. The catch? Compared to other tank classes, it's way less versatile. It has almost no offensive skills, leveling it up is a total grind, and because of that, pretty much everyone considers it a trash tier class. Now, here's what's really going on. Ever since he was a kid, Elymas always had this weird feeling that every new thing he learned wasn't actually new. It felt more like he was remembering fragments of another life. Years later, as the heir of the Idavagahen family, he undergoes the sacred divine blessing ritual, where a priest grants him his class. But right before the ceremony is complete, everything suddenly clicks. His memories come flooding back. In his previous life, he had been absolutely obsessed with an MMORPG called Magic World. That's when the insane truth hits him. This world is basically the game brought to life. Since he knows every hidden mechanic, secret quest, and broken build by heart, he's convinced this is going to be free XP. Once the ritual is over, Elymas opens his holographic status screen and sees his class, Heavy Knight. Instead of being disappointed, he's hyped as hell. It was always his favorite class back in the game. Modohard, his father on the other hand, looks like someone just told him the family bloodline is cooked. He had expected Elymas to inherit the legendary Swordmaster class. In this world, flashy classes with immediate power get all the respect, while classes that take forever to reach their full potential are treated like complete garbage. After seeing Elymas's pathetic starting stats, his father completely loses it. Right in front of everyone, he calls him useless, screams that he received a defective class, and even punches him across the face. Then he orders everyone present to keep what happened a secret, claiming it would disgrace the entire Idavagahen family. Before things can calm down, a breathtaking young woman from one of the family's branch houses arrives to undergo the same divine blessing ritual. Her name is Malice. The two used to play together as kids, but their difference in status kept them apart for the past 5 years. When it's her turn, Malice receives the Swordmaster class. She immediately starts right in Elymas's face, openly mocking him. You'd think that would make his father even angrier. Instead, he's absolutely thrilled. He congratulates Malice on the spot and announces that, from this day forward, she will become the family's new heir. Malice keeps rubbing salt in the wound, saying she always knew Elymas was too weak to carry the burden of leading the family. Then comes the final blow. His father declares that he no longer considers him his son. Since Elymas has stained the family's honor, he's ordered to leave the mansion immediately and is forbidden from ever using the Idavagahen name again. One by one, everyone else turns their back on him too. That same night, while rain pours down like crazy, the family butler quietly hands him a small pouch of coins so he can survive for a while. A few days later, the city is buzzing with ambitious adventurers chasing levels, loot, and monster kills. Meanwhile, Elymas has nothing left. His family's gone, his title's gone, his future's gone. All he can afford is a tiny room at an inn. Even so, he swears that the Heavy Knight is secretly the strongest class in the entire game. For now, he settles into life in the city of Rondalm. As he carefully studies the world around him, he notices a few differences from the game, making him wonder for a second if maybe this version of the Heavy Knight isn't as broken as he remembers. But after checking his status screen, the skill tree is identical. Oh, a grin spreads across his face. The class is insanely difficult to master, but he already knows every busted combo, hidden mechanic, and endgame strategy. Like any RPG though, he's stuck starting from level 1. He spends the next few hours farming weak monsters until he finally reaches level 2. Right then, desperate screams echo from the nearby forest. Without hesitating, Elymas sprints toward them. When he arrives, he finds a man surrounded by giant monster frogs. Elymas calmly tells him he'll handle it. The guy asks what level he is. Level 2. The man's jaw practically hits the floor. He immediately assumes Elymas is a complete idiot. A level 2 Heavy Knight should be even weaker than he is. And wearing armor that heavy? Yeah, this dude's about to get folded. The frogs leap at them all at once. Elymas doesn't even flinch. He activates wall reflection. In an instant, every single attack bounces right back at the monsters simultaneously, wiping them out. The man just stands there, completely speechless. What the hell was that? Still trying to process what he just witnessed, he asks the young warrior for his name. Elymas remembers the moment his father cast him out and stripped him of the Edivagon name forever. So he quietly leaves his past behind and simply replies, "My name's Elymas, the Heavy Knight." After wiping out every single frog, Elymas finally reaches level 8. That's where he meets Eris, who immediately tries to recruit him into a party. Elymas barely acknowledges him. His only goal right now is grinding levels, collecting magic stones, and becoming strong enough to get revenge on the people who betrayed him. Even though the Heavy Knight class is built around protecting teammates, he'd rather fight solo. Teaming up would mean splitting EXP and rewards, and that's simply not how his class is meant to level efficiently. Eris keeps trying to tag along anyway. Then, both of them suddenly sense an overwhelming presence. Out of nowhere, a gigantic spider appears, and its level is nearly twice as high as Elymas's. Eris completely panics. Believing it's his fault for attracting the monster, he decides to sacrifice himself so Elymas can escape. Elymas immediately shuts that idea down. Instead, he chooses to fight the monster himself. Before the battle begins, he spends the skill points he earned from leveling up and unlocks a brand new ability called Disarm, a debuff that temporarily lowers an enemy's attack by 20%. The fight kicks off, and the giant spider instantly proves just how terrifying it is. It's insanely fast and ridiculously agile, but Elymas knows every single one of its attack patterns. He dodges every charge with perfect timing. Then the spider uses its poisonous attack. Instead of avoiding it, Elymas deliberately takes the hit. It was all part of the plan. The moment he's struck, Disarm activates, cutting the spider's attack by 20%. The poison itself doesn't deal much damage, so the trade is completely worth it. A little later, he lands Disarm again, stacking the debuff and reducing the spider's attack by a total of 40%, while his own defense increases by another 10%. With the monster heavily weakened, Elymas activates Rampart Reflection, tanks the incoming attack, reflects the damage right back at the spider, and finishes it off with one final thrust. The victory shoots him all the way up to level 12, but this wasn't exactly a free win. The spider's poison is still spreading through his body. He's too weak to even walk. Luckily, Eris helps support him all the way back to town. Back home, Elymas tries to get some sleep, but every time he closes his eyes, he's haunted by nightmares. His obsession with revenge keeps growing stronger, to the point where he can't think about anything else. The next morning, he officially registers at the Adventurers Guild in Rondalm. Almost everyone there laughs at him for being a Heavy Knight, a class that's widely considered the worst in the entire world. Elymas completely ignores the trash talk. Instead, he hands over all the valuable magic stones he collected on his own. The receptionist is genuinely stunned. So is everyone who had been clowning on him just moments earlier. Of course, some of them immediately assume he must have cheated somehow. After registering his accomplishments, Elymas accepts a mission involving a nearby cemetery. That's when an arrogant party leader starts looking down on him simply because he's a rookie. He doesn't care that Elymas supposedly killed a spider twice his level. As far as he's concerned, there's no way a Heavy Knight could ever pull off something like that without some kind of bullshit. Elymas lowers his head to avoid an argument and keep things from escalating. Seeing him back down, Gauton decides to let it slide and orders Teal to use his detection skill. After a few seconds, the scout reports that there are around 30 monsters nearby. As they move out, Teal tells Elymas that he's become pretty famous thanks to all the crazy incidents he's been involved in lately. Elymas quickly checks out Teal's gear and figures out he's a red mage, a balanced class capable of fighting in melee, casting offensive spells, and using healing magic. Unfortunately, Teal's personality is absolute trash. He mocks Elymas, saying it would be embarrassing to get stuck on a mission with a Heavy Knight, a class he considers completely useless. He even warns Elymas not to slow everyone down because, in his opinion, his abilities won't be worth shit. A moment later, Gaotan gathers the party to explain the plan. The undead army is being led by a head ghoul, a level 30 monster that isn't particularly dangerous on its own but can endlessly summon weaker undead to overwhelm its enemies. As the group's veteran adventurer, Gaotan confidently declares that he'll handle the boss himself while everyone else keeps the undead under control. Meanwhile, Ilimis quietly analyzes the situation and estimates that if everything goes well, maybe 80% of the party will survive. Trying to prepare, Ilimis asks for more details about the enemy and requests more specific instructions. Gaotan immediately takes it as a challenge to his authority. Realizing there's no point arguing, Ilimis changes tactics and lies, claiming he's simply scared because he lacks experience. Teal instantly jumps on the opportunity to make fun of him again, saying it's only natural for someone with a trash class to be terrified. According to him, nobody else needs an explanation because everyone already knows exactly what they're doing. Right at that moment, the attack begins. Dozens of undead suddenly swarm the battlefield alongside the head ghoul, catching everyone completely off guard. Even Teal is scared shitless. Gaotan orders everyone to stay calm before charging straight at the boss. Meanwhile, Ilimis immediately takes charge of the rest of the party. Since many of them have never fought undead before, he quickly tells them to split into teams of 3 so they can support each other during the battle. One adventurer points out that doing so would leave Ilimis fighting alone. Before Ilimis can answer, an undead lunges at him from behind. Thanks to his lightning-fast reflexes, he blocks the attack instantly before carving his way through the horde with his massive sword. His skill rotation is flawless, clearing out a huge section of the battlefield in seconds. With enough space finally opened up, he orders everyone to call for him immediately if anyone gets into trouble. The adventurers can only stare in disbelief. The rumors weren't exaggerated after all. That heavy knight really can take on massive monsters by himself. Little by little, the party starts regaining control of the battlefield. Some of them want to rush over and help Gaotan, but Ilimis immediately stops them. He explains that the head ghoul is far above their level, and jumping in now would only get them killed. From a distance, everyone watches Gaotan completely dominate the fight. Even so, stray undead keep interfering with his attacks. Growing furious, Gaotan starts yelling at Paul and Teal for failing to keep the smaller monsters under control. The problem is, neither of them can even move. They're completely frozen by fear. Just when victory seems to be within reach, Ilimis notices something seriously wrong. The head ghoul suddenly begins devouring the fallen undead scattered across the battlefield. Every wound on its body instantly regenerates. Then it keeps eating, and eating, and eating. Its body starts overflowing with an insane amount of energy. Completely unaware of what's happening, Gaotan prepares to unleash his finishing blow, not realizing the head ghoul has just evolved into something far stronger than before. Ilimis yells at Gaotan to back off right away, but Gaotan's totally stunned and just freezes up. Desperate, Ilimis tells Teal and Paul to distract the monster, but both of them are paralyzed with fear and can't do a thing. The situation is insane, cause if the leader dies, nobody else is high enough level to fight this thing. After taking a brutal hit, the leader goes down, completely incapacitated, but Ilimis clutch saves him right before the final blow. Without hesitating, he orders them to get the leader out for healing while he stalls the monster solo. The problem is, this beast is already level 40, while Ilimis is literally just level 16 and still an F-rank adventurer. Everyone thinks he's totally doomed since one mistake means instant death. Even so, Ilimis goes all in, convinced that huge risks bring the best rewards. Using his higher speed, he tries to distract the monster and dodge its attacks, but the massive level gap makes all his effort fall short. His party members literally think it's just a matter of time before he gets wiped. While fighting, Ilimis reads the room and levels up his basic swordsmanship to level 5, unlocking the precise cut skill, a move made to pierce through tough armor. However, the hit pretty much just pisses the monster off even more. Still, Elymas stays chill because his real goal was never to defeat it, but just to buy time. Finally, Gaotan recovers and lands a clutch, decisive blow that finishes off the creature. Thanks to that fight, Elymas skyrockets all the way to level 23. Shocked by his bravery, the leader admits an F-ranker pulled off what he couldn't and agrees that Elymas was right the entire expedition. As a reward, he gives him all the loot, a level 40 magic stone, and a crazy valuable shield worth 3 million gold coins, which boosts defense and powers up your next attack after blocking a hit. On top of that, he promises to personally vouch for Elymas's promotion with the guild. As for Teal, Gaotan chews him out for freezing mid-fight, so his rank up gets denied. Later on, Elymas gets a massive payout in gold and magic stones, leaving everyone blown away. Even though some people accuse him of cheating, Gaotan backs him up publicly, and he finally ranks up to E. With his new rank locked in, Elymas sets his sights on his next goal, finding a rare grimoire to unlock a skill tree and become the ultimate warrior, maxing out both defense and attack to build the definitive class. Elymas heads to a shop hoping to find a skill book, but it doesn't take long for him to realize there's no way he'll find one in a small town like this. In the end, he settles for buying just 3 potions, even though they're stupidly expensive. Before leaving, he casually asks the shopkeeper if they happen to sell skill books. The woman immediately figures out he's a rookie. She explains that skill books can't legally be sold. Adventurers who discover them are allowed to keep them, but most eventually end up in the hands of the Adventurers Guild, which then passes them on to noble families or powerful churches. That makes Elymas suspect the Edvan family might already own the very book he's looking for. Seeing how disappointed he is, the shopkeeper quietly decides to help him out. She slips him a rough map leading to a hidden underground shop where they sell belongings recovered from dead adventurers. It's basically a black market the authorities conveniently pretend not to see. Skill books and other valuables often end up there instead of being returned to the families of the deceased. Learning that ugly truth makes Elymas realize just how clueless he's been about the way this world really works. Following the map, he eventually arrives at the shady store. The place smells absolutely awful, but inside he finds shelves packed with skill books. A sketchy-looking old woman welcomes him and tells him to browse as much as he wants. The excitement doesn't last long. Every single book is priced so ridiculously high that they're completely out of his league. Then, by pure luck, he spots it, the exact skill book he's been desperately searching for. When he asks for the price, the old woman casually tells him it'll cost 50 million gold coins. Yeah, bro is beyond cooked. Even though there's no chance he can afford it, Elymas tries to negotiate, asking her to hold on to the book while he somehow earns the money. The old woman agrees, but only if he pays an extra 5 million gold as a reservation fee. With literally no better option, Elymas accepts the deal, fully realizing he now has to figure out how to become insanely rich in the shortest time possible. After thinking it through, he reaches one obvious conclusion. There's absolutely no way he'll earn that kind of money by working alone. If he wants even the slightest chance, he's going to need a party. Just then, he notices 3 adventurers arguing nearby: a swordsman named Klein, a bandit named Reese, and a Pierrot named Ruche. Ruche is genuinely happy because she believes one of her support abilities helped the party obtain an incredible sword during their latest dungeon run. Klein immediately shuts her down, insisting she contributed absolutely nothing. The rest of the party piles on, calling her dead weight because she has no offensive abilities whatsoever. The irony is almost painful. Klein was the one who originally told Ruche how to build her entire skill tree, pushing her into picking a bunch of completely useless skills that crippled her character from the start. To make things even worse, they throw her share of the reward money onto the ground just to humiliate her before kicking her out of the party. Remembering everything he'd overheard, Elymas starts connecting the dots. Instead of seeing Ruche as useless, he realizes her skill tree might actually have insane hidden potential that nobody else has been smart enough to notice. Without wasting another second, he walks straight up to her and practically demands that she join his party instead. That's the moment everything starts to change. Ilimis desperately grabs Rucha's hand and even offers her 80% of everything they earn just to convince her to join his party. The offer catches everyone's attention, but Klein immediately starts clowning on him for trying to recruit someone he considers completely useless. Acting like he's doing Ilimis a favor, Klein says he'll allow him to take her out of pity. Ilimis instantly shuts that down, making it clear he doesn't need anyone's permission to invite someone into his own party. The argument quickly heats up. Klein tries to intimidate him by pointing out that Ruche is only level 13, but Ilimis couldn't care less. Levels mean absolutely nothing to him. Meanwhile, Reese starts getting suspicious. She thinks Ilimis is acting way too weird for this to be random and wonders if Ruche might actually have some hidden broken ability. Klein brushes the idea off immediately. As far as he's concerned, letting Ruche leave is the smartest move anyway. That way, nobody can spread rumors claiming they kicked her out. Before walking away, Klein tosses 100,000 gold coins onto the ground like it's some kind of pathetic farewell gift. Ruche instinctively moves to pick them up, but Ilimis stops her. He explains that taking the money would only mean owing a bastard like Klein a favor someday. After hearing that, Ruche quietly leaves the coins behind and walks away with Ilimis instead. Later, the two stop by a tavern to talk things over. Ruche sincerely thanks him for accepting her into his party, but then, completely embarrassed, asks if the reason he recruited her is because he's in love with her. She genuinely can't think of any other explanation. Ilimis immediately kills that idea. Instead, he asks her whether one of her skills is called Great Fortune. As they travel together, Ilimis explains the origin of dungeons. According to ancient legend, every dungeon was born from the nightmares of the sleeping god Alzaros, the being who created the world and countless other gods before eventually losing his mind and being sealed away. Even while imprisoned, his dreams continued leaking into reality, giving birth to monsters and gigantic portals known as dream holes. Armed with that knowledge, they arrive at a dungeon with a recommended level of 50. The power gap is absolutely insane, but Ilimis has no intention of going deep inside. Thanks to everything he learned from the game, he already has a strategy. They'll only clear the first floor, where the risks are manageable. To improve their odds, Ilimis even buys Rucha an expensive combat knife before entering, making sure she's as prepared as possible. Their first opponent is a gigantic patchwork bear. Ilimis immediately puts his newly acquired skill, Shadow Stomp, to use. By stepping on the monster's shadow, he completely locks it in place. While holding it off with his shield, he creates the perfect opening for Rucha to land the finishing blow. The bear doesn't drop a single item. Rucha's face immediately falls. She's convinced she's already failed and that Ilimis is about to kick her out of the party. Instead, he just tells her to keep going. After defeating several more monsters, something absolutely cracked starts happening. They end up finding two rare shields, each worth around 200,000 gold, with a drop rate that should be practically impossible. At that moment, everything clicks for Ilimis. Rucha's insane luck isn't just a coincidence. Her Great Fortune skill massively boosts item drop rates. Realizing just how busted her ability actually is, Ilimis watches as Rucha quickly reaches level 20. With his theory basically confirmed, he sets their next objective. They're going to track down and defeat the legendary Golden Frog. Ilimis and Rucha prepare to take on the Golden Frog, an extremely rare monster with a ridiculously low spawn rate but insanely valuable rewards. Not only does it grant a huge amount of experience, but it can also drop incredibly expensive items. However, these frogs have insane speed and defense, and they can attract other monsters to their location, meaning one wrong move can turn the whole fight into a death sentence. And this isn't some damn video game. If you die, you're screwed. Ilimis has complete faith in Rucha and tells her to put 8 skill points into Fool's Acrobatics, assuring her that its abilities will be absolutely crucial for pulling off their plan. Suddenly, they find the Golden Frog. Rusha immediately gets nervous, terrified that she'll screw everything up. Ilimis tells her to stay calm and stick to the plan. The frog can detect enemies within a 4-meter radius, and since the dungeon corridors are exactly 4 meters wide, approaching it normally would cause it to run away. However, thanks to the skill she just upgraded, Rusha can move along the walls, allowing her to approach from an unexpected angle. She then uses her illusions to force the frog toward Ilimis. Ilimis uses a stone he originally bought for healing, only to discover that it can also be used like a flash bomb. He throws it, blinds the frog, and immediately activates Shadow Stomp to immobilize it. There's just one problem. The golden frog can only be damaged by a critical hit. Rusha has to land the finishing blow, but she still doubts herself because her former teammates always mocked her dice thrust skill, dismissing it as useless since it wasn't directly offensive. Ilimis, however, explains that there are no useless class skills, only skills that haven't found the right situation to show what they can really do. Dice Thrust allows Rushi to roll a die and gain a different effect depending on the result. If she rolls a 6, she can guarantee a critical hit and massively increase the damage. Combined with the effects of her new knife and its armor penetration, the attack could be devastating. Ilimis reminds her that she shouldn't let other people's prejudices define her. Klein's opinion doesn't determine her worth. Ilimis believes in her, and now he needs her to prove what she's capable of. Encouraged by his words, Rusha finally rolls the dice, and her attack lands with overwhelming force, instantly killing the golden frog. Rusha jumps from level 21 to 27, while Ilimis rises from level 24 to 30 thanks to the massive amount of experience the frog provides. But the real reward is the loot. They obtain a dazzling Rana decorative blade, an incredibly rare weapon worth 17 million gold coins. For the first time, Ilimis and Rusha are officially millionaires. Rusha starts worrying that after getting such an insanely valuable weapon, other adventurers might straight up hunt them down for their loot. 3 hours later, they manage to find another golden frog, level up again, and score even more ridiculous rewards. Rusha gets so overwhelmed imagining the absurd amount of gold they could make that she literally faints on the spot. After waking up though, they hear the sound of a baby crying echoing through the dungeon, and Ilimis immediately goes pale. He recognizes it as the cry of a wandering, a monster that normally stays deep inside its nest at the very end of the dungeon but sometimes roams through other floors. And if that thing is moving around, then yeah, things are about to get real bad. Ilimis decides the smartest move is to get the hell out immediately, but then he hears screams. 2 adventurers suddenly appear, badly wounded after getting ambushed by monsters way above their level. Ilimis can't just leave them behind, so he tells Rusha to take the injured adventurers to the exit while he stays behind to hold off the enemies. The first monster he faces is a Tin Knight, which has already lost half its health, but Ilimis warns Rusha that this thing isn't even the final boss, and that the real nightmare is still coming. Then 2 more level 40 Tin Knights show up. At that point, Ilimis orders Rusha to run. He tells her she doesn't have the strength to fight enemies like these. Rusha wants to stay and help, but Ilimis insists she'd only get in the way. Before leaving, she tells him to catch up once he's safe. But once he's alone, Ilimis realizes he lied. He doesn't have the mobility to escape, not a chance. His only option is to win before the monsters overwhelm him. Then it finally appears. Embryo, the true dream lord of this dungeon, a terrifying creature whose only weak point is its giant eye. Ilimis remembers something important from his game knowledge. Even a lower-level fighter can beat a stronger enemy if they figure out its weakness, so he decides to bet everything on that one chance. Using his shield, Ilimis breaks the monster's formation, blocks their attacks, and even sends some of them flying before taking one down. But Embryo has a broken support ability that restores the stamina and energy of its subordinates. Ilimis notices that every time Embryo uses this skill, it has to open its giant eye, exposing its weak spot. That's the opening he needs. Using a magic crystal stone, Elymas lands a direct hit on Embryo and somehow manages to keep control of the fight, but the monsters start adapting to his moves, and Embryo eventually unleashes a devastating cutting attack. Elymas tries to block it with his shield, but the impact sends him crashing into a wall, leaving him barely conscious. Lying there, convinced this is the end, Elymas regrets one thing more than anything else. He wishes he had asked Ruche to stay with him. And just when everything seems completely cooked, Ruche comes back. Out of nowhere, she appears to save his life. Ruche uses her illusions to distract the enemies and help Elymas, who can't understand why she came back instead of escaping with the two injured adventurers. Through tears, Ruche explains that she managed to get them somewhere safe and came back to make sure Elymas was okay. She can't just accept him continuing to fight enemies this powerful all by himself after he risked his life to protect her. Abandoning him now would mean betraying her own ideals as an adventurer. Elymas insists that neither of them can easily defeat these monsters, but Ruche reminds him that he was the one who told her to start trusting her own abilities more. Elymas finally smiles and decides to trust her again, accepting that they'll fight together. The biggest problem is still Embryo, whose ability can restore his allies' lives. If they don't take him down quickly, the fight could basically go on forever. Elymas comes up with an insanely risky strategy. Ruche has to use her dice boost and roll a 6, allowing her to break through the boss's defenses and land a critical hit. To get her into the right position, Elymas plans to use his shield bash to launch her directly at Embryo. They both know that if they screw this up, they could die, but Ruche doesn't hesitate and promises they'll win. Ruche charges in, but getting the perfect opening requires several consecutive attempts. Elymas calculates that the odds could stack in their favor and decides to trust the strategy. Unfortunately, she rolls a 4 on her first attempt, causing the attack to fail. Embryo's massive laughter echoes throughout the area, making it seem like the battle is already over. Even so, Elymas refuses to give up. He decides to take on the 3 smaller monsters himself. Then Ruche makes one final move. Using her acrobatic steps, she runs along the walls, changing her trajectory and giving herself another opportunity to attack. This time, she activates Dice Boost again and gets the perfect result, a 6. Her attack pierces straight through Embryo's defenses and lands a devastating critical hit, killing the boss instantly. As a result, Ruche reaches level 39, while Elymas jumps to level 41. They're both stunned by the victory, especially Elymas, who considers what just happened practically a damn miracle. The experience also completely changes the way Ruche sees herself. Other adventurers used to consider her class worthless, but she just proved that her abilities could be absolutely clutch when it mattered. Elymas explains that their victory wasn't simply because she got lucky, it happened because of who she is. He admits that after arriving in this world, he started judging people based solely on their levels and classes, basically becoming just like Klein and his own father. But Ruche showed him that a person's worth goes way beyond their stats. To Elymas, she's kind, brave, and capable of pushing past her own limits, making her someone he can genuinely trust as an ally. On top of that, Elymas earns a title for defeating a boss while being lower level than it, increasing his attack and speed by 15% against higher level enemies. The smaller monsters also drop rare and valuable swords, while Embryo leaves behind a skill book capable of granting intermediate level wind magic. Elymas immediately realizes they need to keep it secret, since someone could literally kill them just to get their hands on an item that valuable. Finally, the dungeon begins shaking and starts collapsing after the boss's defeat. Once they calculate the total value of their loot, they realize they've made more than 60 million gold coins. Ruche just stands there with the most absolutely no way this is real expression imaginable.